Alright, final match. On to play. We have lands and spells. Let's keep it. Turn 2 Scavenger, mill ourselves, start attacking, have some removal spells to back it up. Hopefully draw like a mongoose or something. Seems like so far Gurmag Angler has been the all-star rather than the mongoose and the scavenger. Dismal Backwater, probably Demir Teachings, which makes it really unfortunate that we have 2 removal spells in our hand. Alright, Delver's Secrets. Start off with a Grizzly Salvage, try and untap black and kill that with Deadweight this turn. Oh, there we go. Perfect. As long as this doesn't get countered, we will be good to go. Okay. Delver down. Opponent brainstorms into turn. Brainstorm is not a very popular card in blue-black control, so this might be a variant on that. Also, very many blue-black control decks these days are creatureless, so the combination of these 2 cards together has me thinking this might be something a little bit different we're looking at. Maybe the Delver Angler deck with Thought Scour's Mental Notes and counterspells. Thought Scour, yep. Let's pop out both of our graveyards, shall we? Since we're both graveyard decks. They milled another Brainstorm and another Delver. Changers is going to be nice for taking out an Angler if we can manage it. They probably don't have an Angler in their hand this turn, though, because they could have exiled their graveyard to cast it. Alright, 1 green source is pretty awkward, which means we can only resolve 1 thing, so I'm going to go with the creature. I could have played Scavenger, potentially, so that way on a future turn I could go Mongoose and Edict. But I like playing the Shroud creature there. Alright. They mill over 1 of their Angler copies, which is good for us. Accumulated Knowledge. Okay. That's just a cantrip right now. Mortuary Mire. Probably going to put the Angler back on top of their deck. Yeah, that makes the most sense. And they'll have a counterspell backup, most likely, since they haven't been playing creatures. That's probably what they have in their hand. So this Chainer's Edict might not do exactly what we want it to do. Ooh, but we have an Angler of our own. So I can't quite play Angler and leave 4 cards in my 4 card types in my graveyard. So what shall I do? Assuming next turn that they play Angler and hold open counterspell and don't do anything else, what's best? Well, it's pretty obviously best to resolve the Angler, so that way they're forced to trade off with it, and then my other creatures can get in for the rest of the damage. Do I have any other good choices? Not really. So now the only question is what I'm going to exile. What am I most likely to have another one of next turn? Creatures, probably. So 1, 2, 3, and then I can get rid of a creature and keep the rest around. Additionally, if this Chainer's Edict gets countered, that's another sorcery, so that'll also get me back up to Delirium. And if I draw green source, I could potentially play Cat Vessel, crack it, and have Threshold taken care of as well. Alright, there's the Angler as we suspected. Let's see if they do anything else before passing. An Eldrazi Sky Spawner. Okay. That's an interesting inclusion. But they still are forced to trade off these Anglers if they don't want to die, so we'll start off with that. I could potentially try to mill myself a bit first, and then also attack with one of these, but then they get to eat my creature with Gurmag Angler and chump mine with a token, so I don't think that's a good idea. I think I'm just going to force them to trade them off. Alright, excellent. So now we get to go Chainer's Edict, kill your Sky Spawner, and also resolve another creature. Turn on my Moldgraph Scavengers, and then next turn I can also turn on my Nimble Mongoose. And then that'll be 3/3 creatures attacking. Gurmag's trade, and they take 9 and die unless they do something about it. So they need a removal spell or some more creatures right now. Alright, accumulated knowledge for 2. Up to 6 cards. They are definitely winning the long game here. They have the card advantage, so I want to try to kill them before that becomes relevant. Alright, they play a gain land, so we can't actually force them to be dead next turn with 3/3 creatures. And they also play a Mental Note. And a Sultai Scavenger. Okay. That's fine. Alright, so I'm going to go with Nascency first. Crack it and see what I'm up to before attacking. Stinkweed Imp or land. Alright, I'll just take the Imp. I have no real reason to want to dredge it next turn. So if I attack all out here, my opponent can go Angler on Moldgraph, Scavenger on Mongoose, and then take 8, go down to 2, untap, and like maybe kill Gurmag Angler. Although they might not even have a kill spell for Gurmag Angler in their deck, or at least not very many of them. They might play Victim of Night, but most likely they play Agni Warp, Doomblade, that kind of thing. I could also just attack with Angler. I think that's still best. They really don't want to take 5 here, so they'll probably trade off Anglers. And then my creatures, my 3/4s, trump the Scavenger for the future. And then I just hope that they can't play another Angler. Alright, they get to start off with a Ponder, which is something that they need. I've tried to set up this game so that Counterspell is as bad for them as possible. Just because I know that this list does play Counterspells. Potentially also deprives whenever I used to play it. I made a video about it if you want to go check it out. They choose 2 Shuffle with Ponder. So I've waited with these Dredge creatures to not cast them yet. Cast my more aggressive creatures first when they're tapped out. And then if they want to Counterspell a Dredge creature, I can just get it back if I really want it. So that's also the reason I attacked the way that I did last turn. They play a Delver, and then they Gush afterward. They Bojuka Bog, which is extremely good against us. We have Stinkweed Imp, so we can rebuild our graveyard later, but yeah, that's not good. Alright, they got us with the main deck Bojuka Bog as part of their mana base. Moldgraph Scavenger, okay. Most likely they're not going to want to counter this because that means I get to dredge with it. We'll see what they do though. Pass the turn. Then I can either hold back the Stinkweed and stop all combat, since they don't want to trade with it, or I can start attacking with it, since they don't want to trade with it. Then I'll have some time to set up and try to rebuild my Delirium and Threshold. Hopefully before they get another Angler online. They mill a counterspell to their mental note. Alright, they have Deprive, so they have another counterspell. And Deprive lets them return any land to their hand, so they can actually deprive picking up the Bojuka Bog to be able to nuke our graveyard again, which is a pretty interesting interaction. They could also pick up their Mortuary Mire to get back their Angler. So it's possible I don't even want to cast spells anymore. Alright, they are attacking, so I am going to try to trade off here. They can't deprive if I don't cast a spell, so I should be able to dredge at least once, unless they have another Bojuka Bog. And they just pass. Okay, there's the dredge. That turns on all my mold graphs, so let's see what their cunning plan is for letting me attack for 10 when they're at 11. Alright, so I'm not going to cast a spell here because they can just deprive, pick up Bojuka Bog, and then Bojuka Bog me, killing my graveyard and nuking all my creatures, as well as killing whatever it is I counter. So if they want to deprive, they're going to have to deprive their own spell, which could end up being the correct play. Alright. Well, they've already played a land, so they can't play another Bojuka Bog. They're evoking Muldrifter here. What they should have done is evoke Muldrifter, counterspell the evoked Muldrifter, pick up Bojuka Bog and Bojuka Bog us, and hope that we couldn't mill ourselves again. Because then they could block our 1-1 with their 3-2, and then we'd have a bunch of 0-4s that don't do anything. At the very least, they shouldn't have played their island before they evoked the Muldrifter, because if they drew another Bojuka Bog, then they could nuke our graveyard that way. But maybe they only have one Bojuka Bog in their deck. Ghastly Demise, okay. Don't think they're coming back from this. Alrighty, game 1 down. So we definitely want Nihil Spellbombs for their graveyard. And I think I'm going to put in 2 Pulses since this is a control on control matchup. And cut a little bit of our milling cards. The reason for that is that I want to be able to not get destroyed by them having their own Nihil Spellbombs and Bojuka Bogs. Not enough lands there, so I didn't keep that. Grizzly Salvage should be fine. And I'd rather be able to win the long game, even if they nuke our graveyard once or twice. So I'm going to spend a little bit less time setting up my graveyard, and a little more time resolving big creatures like as many anglers as possible, which is why I wanted the Pulse. They have Delver and Tapland, so that's going to die to the Chainers. I could also just take this opportunity to resolve a Werebear. That would be a fine play as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. It adds to our mana, so let's do it. Next turn I can Chainers and Grizzly Salvage, or Chainers and Chainers if they manage to play another creature. Also, if they flip this, I get to know one of the cards in their hand, which is kind of nice. Thought Scour, okay. I do have to draw a Black Swords if I want to cast 2 spells next turn. I just realized that, unfortunately. Nihil Spellbomb of their own, okay. Get rid of this 3/2. Now the goal is for me to be able to use my graveyard up probably in the same turn that I fill it up. So if they aren't incentivized enough just to get this edict out of here, then I might be able to Grizzly Salvage, and then as soon as that is done resolving, Gurmag Angler, and then they never have an opportunity to nuke my graveyard because I nuked it first and got the value from it. What would really be great though is if this game went on very slowly and took a long amount of time and I made a ton of land drops and they felt like they had to sacrifice this Nihil Spellbomb just to kill a single Chainer's Edict. Scariest thing they can still do is Angler plus Counterspell. And with that land drop just now, they do have the mana for that. Even more so now that they cost that Thought Scour that they showed us before. Here's the Angler, leaving open the mana for Counterspell, which is really unfortunate because we really need this Chainer's Edict to resolve. But unfortunately I don't really have a choice, so I'm just going to do it and force them to go ahead and have it. They most likely do have it, and they did, okay. Now I need to worry more about casting this Angler of my own, probably, so I can trade off. Alright, let's start with the Stinkweed Imp. See if my opponent's going to counter it. I also have the option here to try to trade off this Gurmag Angler by pumping up this bear to a 4/4 and then deadweighting it potentially. But since I let the Stinkweed resolve, then that'll be my insurance against the Angler for now. I'm going to Grizzly Salvage on their turn. And then they're most likely going to pop their Nihil Spellbomb. Echoing Truth, okay. They're just going to do that for some tempo. Angler. I don't want the second Angler yet, as I probably am not even going to be able to cast this one after they pop this on their end step. I think I'll just take the Mongoose as a good chump blocker. Looks like they're going to let me draw this though, so maybe I'll just take that. Gain some life. They should have probably popped this on my end step, but they did not. Now they're going to go ahead and do it. Now I get to resolve this brown scale. And just keep on doing that over and over again. I'm debating whether I should also cast the Deadweight this turn. I don't think that I should. I'd rather save Deadweight for another creature. Are they going to counter this Mongoose? Oh, they're Ghastly Demising that, so that, okay. Well, if they're going to do that, then I am going to go ahead and Deadweight. Thanks for letting me know. You should have waited for my end step. Now I can just get this Werebear up to a 4/4 hopefully again, whenever I dredge a Stinkweed Imp. Mongoose is worth more to me than 3 life right now. Let's see what they can do with the 3 cards in their hand. Another Angler would be pretty hard to deal with. Scavenger is difficult too. Am I returning Brown Scale? That is the question. I can't cast it and something else this turn. Yeah, I'll do it anyway. The 2 life is nice. And now I force them to counter Stinkweed Imp. Or kill it or whatever they want to do. Echoing Truth it again. There's the Deprive, okay. Returning a Swamp. Now next turn I get to resolve Imp and Angler potentially. If they have more counter spells or kill spells, I'm in trouble obviously, but I think I've put myself in as good a position as I can to win this game. Alright, there's Disfigure. I am chump blocking this turn, I think. Next turn I'm going to dredge for 6, or dredge for 5, go to 8 cards in yard. Play this, and then I'm still not going to have Threshold, so I might as well get rid of this now. They're at 1 card in hand. Alright, they didn't counter the Imp. Let's see if they counter this Angler. Nope. I'm not quite dead to a bounce spell. Let's see what they can do to me. Agony Warp, okay. Kill the Imp, shrink the Gurmag Angler before blocks. That way they get to get in 3 this turn. And they play a Delver, going to 0 cards in hand. So now, they're counting on being able to flip this Delver of Secrets. And they know that I have to dredge back the Imp this turn, because otherwise I don't have a blocker for the Flyer. So I have to do this, I have to go to 1 damage, and they have to not have an instant or sorcery on top of their yard for me to win, on top of their library. Okay, they didn't do it. Another kill spell or a bounce spell will do it though. Another Delver, okay. They're probably not going to attack this turn because that gives away the Gurmag Angler for no reason. I'm not dredging with this Stinkweed, I don't believe, because I already have a blocker. And if they flip the Delvers, I can't win anyway. Alright, there's a Werebear. I'm going to go with Brown Scale first, because it gives me life gain if they need to attack. And miss again, miss, please miss. They're not going to miss for forever. I have to draw some removal spells. Oh, they get a counterspell. Okay, well, I'm dead. And the Flyers have it. Alright. Playing first. Mongooses, Doomblade, and a Pulse. I'll keep it. I need to find a mill spell so that this Pulse can get back something other than a Mongoose, and these Mongooses can be 3/3s. But I have a removal for Delver. I don't have removal for Angler yet, but I can double block it potentially. And we'll see what this hand does. Turn 1, Ponder. They choose to not shuffle, What a show off. And we drew an Angler. Now we really need a mill spell. Thought Scour themselves on upkeep to get rid of some of the cards they saw with Ponder. Counterspell and Accumulated Knowledge, so they must be digging for lands if they don't want to counterspell. Evolving Wilds. And I can pulse back this Evolving Wilds next turn if I really want to. Gets me closer to casting Angler. By putting another land in my hand makes my Chanter's Edicts better if we're settling in for a long game. I'd rather Doomblade an Angler this turn, or not an Angler, obviously, a Delver. Alright, there's an Angler. I'm going to go ahead and do this now. I need to play my own Angler as quickly as possible. And I don't mind fetching a basic out of my deck. I could have potentially attacked there and threatened having a Grizzly Salvage, because then I could crack this, Grizzly Salvage, not take something, and trade with an Angler, but I didn't think it was worth it. They accumulated knowledge for 2, playing Island. Not going to be blocking just yet. I'd rather be able to double block these whenever I finally get a 7. Moldgrass Scavenger. Well, that's a card, I guess. I can play Angler now, but that plays it straight into Counterspell. Which they probably have, given how they tapped. They Thought Scour themselves. And they get to bash me for 5 again. I need them to play a blue creature. If they play another black creature, I'm in trouble. Ghastly Demise, okay. Come on, Delver. No Delver. Still just holding up in Counterspell. Alright. There's no way I can get to 7, so I'll just attack again. Still gonna wait on this Angler. No point in my mind. Accumulated knowledge for 3. They go to 9 cards in hand. They have board advantage, card advantage, probably have a counterspell. I think they're gonna win this one. Hit me down to 11. With 10 cards in hand, they might be persuaded to tap out here for some Delvers, but no. They're just going to discard a hand size, play another black spell with protection from Doomblade. Just like they should. Stinkweed Imp, okay. There's something that they have to counterspell. No? No counterspell, okay. I'm going to let them have a Nimble Mongoose for free if they want it. I'm about to get so far away from Threshold. Stinkweed Imp might eventually get me back, but I have a feeling they're going to bounce the Stinkweed Imp instead of kill it. Alright, there's the counterspell on the Angler. And let's see what they can do about this Stinkweed Imp. They disfigure it. Okay. I'm going to fall to 3, have 2 lethal threats coming at me. Which means I need the Stinkweed Imp to survive, block the Angler, chump the Scavenger. Which I can't do because this doesn't have flying, so chump the Angler, block the Scavenger. They just pondered and didn't shuffle, so they are almost guaranteed to have a counterspell or deprive in their hand. Hey look! Finally something for me to hit with a Doomblade. I don't think it matters what I do here, but they did tap out of counterspell, so let's see what I can do. Echoing Truth. Okay. And that's the ball game. Boom. Well, we went 1-4 overall, which is not great. This deck definitely feels more like a 2-3 deck than a 3-2 deck. It could be that there's some more fine-tuning that needs to happen. It could be that I didn't play it completely optimally. It's pretty difficult with all the different cantrips and a lot of different lines of play that you can run around. I kept some one-land hands that might not have been correct. So overall, I had fun running it, despite the record not being amazing. Hope you enjoyed watching as well. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up on all our videos. Thanks for watching, thanks for reading, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sending in deck lists, and I will see you next time.